Gotta get ready now.
Jack, you've entered at the beginning of Krusty's presentation. We watched Tim's so far. It was about an airplane that had some personality issues, and now I'm still completely in the dark about Krusty's presentation. I swear to God, if it's about ants again, I'm gonna lose my mind.
It's not about ants, but welcome everybody. It is I, Crusty. Usually I talk about in-depth history topics, but this is kind of a stopgap for a bigger project I'm going to work on. So it's not going to be super technical. This is just introducing some interesting stories that I have picked up. It's going to be definitely more goofy. So yeah, don't take it too seriously. And if you want to share your own stories in the comments and in the chat, feel free to do so. But today's topic that I have put into a presentation is the top 10 anime betrayals of all time throughout history.
I love that.
Watch Mojo, baby.
Yeah.
I like the Watch Mojo. Yeah, I didn't notice.
So let us get started. I'll go through these really quickly as well, because the ones later down the list need more detail, but some of them are rushed. So yeah. Let's start. Number 15.
What?
Burger
Top
King
10?
foot lettuce.
Top 10. Number 15.
Sorry, I had to do it. No, we're doing top 10. Don't worry, it's not 15. I just had to add that in. Okay, number 10. Let's just rip this band-aid open. American independence.
Alright,
all of
that
you.
was
Every
not
single
a betrayal.
Very
This
topical.
feels a little biased.
I mean, in a way, we're returning to a monarchy, so I don't know if you could call it a betrayal. It's more like we're mimicking at this point.
We all know the story, though. You know, we tried to get tariffs put on you. You didn't like that. You threw our tea into the ocean, and we shot some of your people, and you didn't like that. You fought brave revolution. We played the hardest game of whack-a-mole in human history, and you eventually kicked us out. But no hard feelings, though. After soon enough, we were back together as best friends. I mean, it took a few decades, but we're good. We're on good terms now. But we got that first one out of the way, so we're all good to go on number 9. The Munich Agreement. Now, this one will need a little bit more context for those who don't know. It's 1919, and World War One is finally over. The Entente has just defeated Germany, but what to do with little Austria?
This is perhaps the only instance of a reference to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness ever recorded.
Yeah, so everybody talks about how damaging the Treaty of Versailles was and how punishing it was, but everybody kind of forgets the Treaty of Turin, because this literally just made Austria-Hungary cease to exist. It split it up into multiple countries, and one of the biggest problems with this is that now you've got a bunch of small countries neighbored by very large and hungry countries. So,
like Hungary?
Get it? Hungry. Yeah, very hungry.
It's funny because this treaty actually expired in 2019, and Hungary's kind of been pushing for its land back.
Get in fucking line, Hungary. My God.
Yeah.
Let's start another land war. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do in this situation? Well, you make an alliance. So the Czechs, the Romanians, and Yugoslavia come together to make the Little Entente. And it's an okay, decent-sized alliance. However, you do have a very hungry Soviet Union, a very edgy Germany, and a very also hungry Italy. But there's one bit of good news for this little agreement, is that the Czechs have a best friend, and that's the French, who have guaranteed their independence. So nobody's coming for the Czechs today. Until a very funny mustache man heard some mountain Germans in the Czech area and was like, I want that. So the international community comes around, and they're like, "Yeah, we got your back, homie. You're good. Don't think about it." So they meet in Munich.
What do the other sentences say?
It's basically the same thing, but like
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what the Russian one says, but
I just want to
wrote
make
that, like, a
sure
month ago.
that no one in the comments for this video is gonna say, "Hey, I can't believe that Russian bit slipped in."
Yeah, I can't believe they put a slur in Russian in the video. Unbelievable.
You know what? It might be. I wrote it like a month and a half ago, and I completely forgot what it said.
Tell us what it means down below in the comments.
Hey, buddy, we're ready to go to war against those German morons. Say the word and we're in. Let me get the other one.
He's got
So what makes it worse for the Czechs is that they had to like wait outside the meeting room while Britain, France, and Germany essentially discussed their future. It's basically the geopolitical version of being cucked. And it only got worse when Britain and France left the room looking like this.
I love that image so much.
Yeah, so the British and French basically agreed to the Germans if they were to play nice, they get to keep the mountain region of the Czechoslovakia. Now, it only got worse as well as, you might as well kick a man while he's down, as Poland and Hungary were like, fuck it, we're going to take some of our little chunks of that as well. The only country in the world to internationally and formally denounce this agreement was, in fact, Mexico, of all countries.
Based Mexico once again.
Yeah. And so
Viva
to
la
this
Mexico,
day-
baby.
So to this day, the Czechs are still very thankful to the Mexicans, who probably don't remember this event ever happening.
Oh, not at all. Zero cultural memory of this event. Like,
I'm
Yeah.
just imagining you're like some unpaid intern aide to the Mexican government. They're like, "Hey, can you stop by our embassy in the Czech Republic real quick?" Like they're pranking you because they know you're gonna get the red carpet treatment as soon as you land in the Czech Republic.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, none of this actually mattered because 6 months later, Germany decided to eat all of Czechoslovakia, and yes, it was very much seen as like not only a betrayal by the Czechs' allies who never showed up to help them, but also betrayal by Germany. But like within like 6 months of just going, fuck the treaty. But yeah, number 8. I'm gonna make a challenge for everybody here. Can anybody pronounce this man's name? here?
Eclibaides.
Eclibaides.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think Eclibaides might be.
So
Alcibiades.
Alcibiades. That's kind of the way I can't speak Greek, so but I know the C is like it's not K, it's Alcibiades.
But it's a
which
K
makes it
on
really
his little statue there.
He's the OG broccoli head.
So who is this handsome devil? Well, we'll get to him in a second, but the time he was around, he was alive during the Peloponnesian War. Basically, Sparta and Athens are going at it with each other. I always find it funny that the Spartans are seen as these, like, naked warrior tribe, but in reality, they were like the most heavily armored units, like in Greece, if not like the world. But everything else about these pictures are completely accurate. But you got. So, who is Alcibiades? Well, he was an Athenian. Was he rich? He was very rich. Was he attractive? He was hot as fuck. Okay.
Crusty, tiny little side note. I actually wrote down on a document I've been keeping track of possible Swag Academy subjects, and one of my favorites right now is how rich were ancient kings, because I had this thought: what if they were actually way more broke than like modern times would expect? Well, because like a mountain of gold is worth what these days? Like maybe $2 million. Like that's barely in the 1% of Americans now. I just think that'd be a really funny comparison.
I don't know if you know how much a mountain actually is.
Yeah, that gold is extremely valuable
Gold's
even
still
still today.
expensive.
Although I do think you're cooking there, because I think a presentation on Mansa Musa or someone like that would be really cool.
Like, could a
the dude
Polynesian
literally
king
caused inflation
now?
just from throwing gold everywhere?
Yeah, could
You're the only other person I've ever heard mention Mansa Musa.
He literally like bankrupted the entire North and African continent just by causing inflation.
He's my
to
goat,
go through the
man.
roof. He was like throwing
Hilarious.
gold out, and like everybody, oh, gold's like worthless now.
He's
Anyway,
just a chill guy, man.
sorry. Just want to let you know, I really do want a presentation about that at some point. I think it'd be really funny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he was hot as hell. Was he talented? Oh, he was very talented, very popular at the parties and all that. Was he influential or powerful? Yeah, he had many connections into the establishments of ancient Greece. Was he intelligent? Well, his teacher was literally Socrates. So this guy had a pretty much set for life. But more than anything, he was a rat, a clean rat, but a rat nevertheless. So Peloponnesian War. Why is it happening? Doesn't really matter, and it's too complicated. All you need to know from the Spartans' perspective, the Athenians were being a bit too bossy, and to them that kind of looks like this. So this means war. So because our boy is Athenian, he's obviously going to fight for the Athenian side, which he does, and he does quite successfully until, for some reason, unknown to man, he desecrates one of the Athenian statues. This is a big no-no, and no matter how powerful or influential you are probably going to be executed for this. So he decides to flee to Sparta and betrays the Athenians by showing the Spartans where to blockade the city for food and stuff. If he wasn't already in enough trouble, he decides that he's going to sleep with the Spartan queen. It is a big no-no, and is definitely going to get his head on a spike. So he does probably the big worst thing you could do as a Greek during this time period. He goes to the Persians, and they're like, tell us about the Athenians. And at the time the Persians weren't at war directly. It was more like a Cold War. Like they're just kind of like there was going to be a war, just not at this moment. But so they were like, okay, you can have some land, and we'll let you do what you've got to do in Persia. Until one day they're like, okay, we need you as a diplomat for the Athenians, and you're Athenian, so that will work out just swell. So he meets up with the Athenians again, who are like, obviously very awkward, but he's kind of like, look, man, these Persian motherfuckers, they're insane. You need to take me back. And then they're like, oh, 100%, we'll take you back. No harsh feeling.
Can you please tell me why Athens is represented in your presentation as femboy Hooters?
I mean, isn't it obvious?
I'm sorry. I should have understood. Continue.
So basically, he comes back to Athens to fight for them, and he wins some naval battles as a naval commander. But he gets so ass mad with how incompetent the Athenian navy is. He says screw it, and he goes back to Persia again. Not before he is then killed by a Spartan. The end. The biggest rat in human history.
This man, like, being the inspiration for D&D bards, Julie D'Abonaire, and John Paul Jones all at once.
Boy really thought he could fuck his way out of the situation. He could not.
He nearly did.
Yeah. So, number 7. We're still in Athens, but about 50 years in the past. So this is around the time the Persians first start marching onto Greece. Now, to us, this is a very big and scary empire. To the Greeks, it was literally, well, it felt like the whole planet was about to consume them. The Athens approach of defeating the Persians was very much like, if we work together with the power of friendship, we can stop the threat. The problem is that Greece at the time was not in any sort of position of unifying. In fact, they were very much at each other's throats. Then it was made worse by the biggest betrayal of all. Thebes and Argos decided to backstab them and let the Persians march into their city, which they then burned to the ground.
How does no one ever see this coming? Everyone thinks hey, invading army, I will just allow you in and you'll let me live?
Well, you say that, Skippy, because the Athenians knew it was coming, and were able to evacuate a lot of their civilians out of the city. They then fled to Corinth, who they were now pretty much in love with because they had a big navy, and they would go on to basically destroy the Persian navy, stopping the invasion outright. But don't think the Athenians forgot about Thebes. Oh no, that betrayal ran way deeper than any Persian invasion. In fact, Athenians were very ass-mad about the entirety of Greece for just kind of watching the Persians would march in. And before you know it, everybody was Athenian, essentially, culturally, even to a point where, say about over a century later, or one eternity later, Alexander the Great, the god king of all the femboys, would go on to reconquest all of the Persian Empire, which, by the way, he did before he was 30. So if you ever feel bad that you've done nothing with your life by the time you're 30, then, you keep feeling bad.
Okay. Side note: Julius Caesar had an existential crisis because he was past Alexander's age and hadn't done anything as noteworthy yet.
That is hilarious.
The man who destroyed the Roman Republic and became the emperor felt bad about himself because he wasn't Alexander the Great.
Yeah. Number 6. I'm gonna need some help with the pronunciation on this one.
Crusty, can you tell whoever's outside your window to stop honking their horn? I thought you lived in like a high rise.
I do.
Docs. The cars are flying.
Cars over here.
That's when we find out that he's actually from the
Crusty lives on Mars.
They glass bars.
I might need some pronunciation help with this name. Is it Atahualpa? Atahualpa?
Atahualpa?
Atahualpa? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the H would be silent. Yeah, Atahualpa.
Yeah, so Atahualpa was the last Incan emperor. Why was he the last? Well, it turns out the Spanish had shown up to the Americas.
Ah, shit.
Yeah. He lost the battle, which I won't go into the battle details because I feel like if Jack was going to touch on this topic, he would do a much better job than I would. But what happened during his captivity was quite interesting. He met a guy called Francisco Pizarro, and he goes, "All right.
Oh yeah."
Yeah. He knows where I'm
History
going.
Major here.
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. He goes, "All right, hear me out. If you let me go, I will. You see these buildings over here? I will literally fill them to the brim with gold and silver." And the Spanish are like, "Oh shit, for real?" Okay. So they do. The Incans fill these rooms full of gold, and from from the sources I found, it would have been around 6,000 kilograms of gold. Don't worry, my American friends, I have translated for you. That's roughly around 30,000 Big Macs.
Thank you.
11.5 grizzly bears and a tenth of a space shuttle.
So that would be enough to beat a silverback gorilla.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe so, yes.
Shadow clone grizzly bear.
Yeah. So they do all of this, and he's like, "All right, enjoy your gold and silver. So you good to just let me go now?" And the Spanish just straight up kill him and take the gold anyway. Yeah. Not very cash money of them, I must say.
Ever since I watched the masterpiece, The Road to El Dorado, I've had this question. So the Spanish obviously wanted to go to the New World because they thought there was gold, right? That was the whole point. They thought there were new resources, land to till, and gold was like a driving force.
Yeah, gold, God, and glory, the 3 Gs.
So when they got to the Americas, were the Incans and the Mayans, did they have gold? Was that a resource that they had
So, funny
enjoyed?
story. The Incans are why the Spanish assumed that every Mesoamerican culture had just mountains of gold that they were sitting on, because Chieftain Atahualpa did that. Like he gave them like hordes of gold. So they said, "Shit, all these other countries, all these other tribes must have mountains of gold that they're sitting on too. The Americas must be loaded with gold. Fuck it, we're gonna just take it." And I mean, that's what they did. But little did they know, the Aztecs had very little material resource wealth like that. They lived in a fucking swamp for the most part. And the Mayans by that point had basically gone out. Like they were, you can sort of think of the Mayans as similar to the Greek city-states, where it was more a loose confederation of a bunch of different city-states rather than one unified culture. We just don't know enough about each of those city-states to have like the level of lore that we do for like Athens and Sparta.
Damn
Yeah,
it.
and also the Mayans were like around during a time where Spain didn't even like exist as a country.
True. But yeah, so that goes back to the Mayans had already their time had passed by that point.
So, sorry, quick side note, that I just looked it up. That 6,000 kilograms of gold would be worth $627 million US today.
Which is like not even enough to donate to Donald Trump's presidential campaign. So like, were you even rich? Were you even rich?
We're gonna have the most gold that anyone's ever seen. We're gonna make a big, beautiful room and fill it with so much gold. I went to him. He said, Donnie, if you let me go, I'll find the gold. I'll find the $100 million worth of gold. Fill the room. It's gonna be a beautiful room, and Mexico's gonna pay for it.
And then I shot him anyway.
And then I sent him to El Salvador.
This actually makes me want to go off a little bit on the piece that I'm working on, because like genuinely the first sentence of the new budget reconciliation bill makes me wonder if like, one, it was AI generated, and two, if like anyone in the Trump administration has didactic memory like at all, like if they can remember like chronological order of events. Like the first sentence is like, when I took over as president, a pandemic was raging and economic uncertainty was crazy. It's like, dude, the pandemic was like over by that point. And two, the economic uncertainty was caused by you. You did that. With the tariffs, that's what did that. There wasn't like, what?
Chat,
what
please.
What are we talking about?
Chat, please. We must say
man.
that.
I've had to read
anti-intellectualism is on the rise.
Of this of AI generated slop. Like what is this?
Anti-intellectualism is on the rise, and it's time to get with the times, baby.
We need to stop thinking. That was the solution I came to. I had so much anxiety, and I told myself, I just need to stop having thoughts. I need to stop being caught up on world events.
Exactly.
I think the most correct
meds.
I've ever been was when I said after Trump got elected that shit was going to get real stupid real fast. I just wasn't prepared for how stupid or how fast. Like it's just mind-boggling. But yeah, sorry, I had to. That little Trump.
I get it. That was me like 2 months ago.
I have to be a little bit because I've been reading this shit for like a week now. Like every time it's got to be AI generated, man. There's no way. Like fucking Grok wrote this.
Anyways.
Yeah, sorry.
Just anime betrayals got us heated. Very topical.
I'm heated this morning, boys. I apologize.
Alrighty, number 5. Does anybody remember this handsome fellow?
Oh yeah, that's George Washington of the fucking Irish, isn't it? Robert the Frank.
A way to say that.
I like how the Scotorum looks somewhat like scrotum on the top right.
Yes, my man Scrotum.
You were close. It is
John Scrotum of Ireland.
Robert the Bruce.
Robert the Bruce from my first ever Swag Academy video, or as Jack beautifully put it, Bruce to Robert.
I'm so happy Jack is here.
2 first names.
Yeah. So we all remember that, that whole thing with the first Scottish independence. The English built this giant war machine called the Werewolf, and then the Scots surrendered before they could use it, and so they were like, "Yeah, well, we spent 3 months working on it, so we're gonna use it anyway." Actually, here's a movie clip I thought I would share for the class. Bring out the TV. It's only like a couple of seconds.
Hey, it's Pippin. Or is that Mary?
So yeah, even though the Scottish surrendered, the English were like, "Yeah, well, we might as well use it." Yeah, wait, so okay, so Robert, he's not too happy about surrendering, but the problem is that like not everybody is like keen on going back to war again because like war sucks. So he needs to find a way to like convince everybody to join his side to start a second war. But first, most importantly, he has to go and deal with his rival, John Combe. And he, so this is kind of like where history differs depending on who you ask. But all I can definitely confirm to you is that both men went into Greyfriars Church and one man came out. So this is the English interpretation of what happened. Robert the Bruce lured John into the church, made him a deal that he couldn't refuse. Obviously, I don't think John was particularly happy with some of the demands requested from him, and so Robert just kills him. Now, political murder was just a byproduct of being from that time period. However, the bigger issue was the fact that he did it in a church in a very Catholic country at the time. So Catholic, in fact, when like two battling armies would come face to face with each other, and it just so happened to be a Sunday, they would just kind of have to like stare at each other until the day was over before they could start fighting with each other. So then
Amazing. Robert
is excommunicated by the Pope, which just means that every king is basically justified in killing him. And 6 months later, Robert becomes king. The Scottish version of the story slightly differs things. Basically, so how it goes is Robert brings John to the church and explains his master plan on how he's going to defeat the English. It is implied that John is going to betray Robert and basically leak all his plans to the English. So Robert has no choice but to kill him for the future of Scotland. It still happens in a church, though, by the way, so that bit didn't change. Nevertheless, he was crowned king 6 months later, and which story is the correct one? Who the fuck cares? And who knows? Because that's history 101, baby. But yes, this would go on to the Second War of Scottish Independence, where our original first story was, or at least my first Swag Academy was.
Damn,
so,
it all comes full circle.
Comes full circle.
That's how he lets us know that he's leaving Sir Swag forever.
No, Crusty!
No.
This is my last Swag Academy.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, so number 4, we're still in Scotland. This is going to be a common theme. So the Douglas clan and the Crown of Scotland have a bit of a rivalry for a few decades.
What fucking nerds are in the audience that you can put this image on screen and someone just goes, "Oh yeah, I know this one."
Well, as soon as I see Clan Douglas, I'm like, oh no, I know which one we're talking about.
So, after years of having a rivalry, they decide, you know what, maybe it's time that we break bread. So King James requests that the heads of the Clan Douglas come to Edinburgh Castle. At the time, the leader of Clan Douglas is William Douglas, who at the time is 16.
God damn it.
And a cat. Boy.
Yeah. He also brings his younger brother, David Douglas, who was 10. He did this because he needed somewhat of a translator, because there was a bit of an issue, and I think Skip, you would know where that's going. James II was also 10 years old. So basically, the party started off quite awkward, where there was just a bunch of nobles watching free children discuss politics. However, before you know it, the party lived up a bit, and everybody was sort of doing that whole, I don't know what tavern people do, drinking, eating meat, fighting, all
They had a
that,
little play
all
date.
that good stuff. Yeah, a little play date. Everything was going great until suddenly the music stops and a single snare drum starts tapping, and a bunch of servants come out with a silver platter, which they then put on William's table. Now, William was probably very interested, but also very suspicious of what this was. Even more so when James is very excited for him to open this silver plate. And when he opened it, what he found was the head of a black bull.
It's honestly not as bad as I thought it would be.
Well, I will explain the significance of this.
I don't know,
Because-
man. Do you know how big cows are? Like
Well-
that's not like a small plate.
I'm just
That
saying,
you would-
I was expecting you to say like the head of his father or something.
Oh yeah, no, I was expecting it to go there too. I see what you're saying, but like I'm also thinking like that's a giant fucking plate. Like
Especially me.
Like, cows are not small animals. Like that's a big head that thing's got.
Yeah, well, I'll explain to you the meaning of this in a second, but I can tell you now that William 100% knew what this meant. And he probably turned to his little brother, who had no idea what was going on, but looked on him as if it was the last time he was ever going to see him. Because a black bull, or the head of a black bull, represents death. So, very quickly, James had his men take William and his little brother out to the courtyard, where they put them on a mock trial, where they attempted to plea for their freedom. Because it was a mock trial, it was obviously not taken seriously. The pleading then turned into begging and crying, which then also turned into screaming and just straight out. Imagine the worst screaming you would ever hear, until eventually they were executed and the halls of the castle went quiet. I imagine, Jesse, you would have maybe heard of this because this would be a direct inspiration to a specific event that happens in the series of Game of Thrones. And while there are many of these types of events in history, and I can't go through all of them, there is actually one that happened that I think is closer to what happened in the books. And this will be our number 3, and guess what? It's also in Scotland.
Amazing.
Is there something I should know? There's a video about top 10 betrayals in history, and 3 out of 10 of them take place in Scotland.
It was me, Barry. I'm the one who hacked the channel and took it over to make crypto money. That's number 1.
Yeah.
We thought me and Russia were homies.
Yeah. So, Clan MacDonald and Clan Campbell are currently rivaling each other. If you don't know which one is which, here's some translations for you. Basically, the King of Britain at the time had ordered the Clan Campbell to go and stay at the MacDonald's household. Now, this was fairly normal if troops needed to be moved to a specific stationed place or something like that. This was very common. And due to like Scottish hospitality rules, like no matter like if you hate them, you have to like keep them in your house, and you have to be kind and feed them and all that stuff, which the McDonald's do. They actually do keep them in and feed them and let them sleep around and all that stuff. So from the McDonald's perspective, everything was going perfectly swell until about 2 weeks later. one morning, I can't actually show you what happened, but basically, the McDonald's woke up to find that the Campbells were slaughtering every McDonald they could find. And I know very much that the image in our heads is probably going to be something like, these tribesmen like being barbaric and slaughtering one another. But no, the reason why this is like such a dark point in Scottish history was this was fairly recent. Now, it's around 300 years ago, which I know for Americans is a long time ago, but for Europeans, this is last month, okay?
This is all they got.
But yeah, like this wasn't like some sword. Well, there are swords involved, but they had muskets and stuff, and this was like very recent in Scottish history. Not only that, that was the one thing that made it bad. Another thing that made it bad was the it wasn't just the men, but the women, and I gotta like sync it up to this kid and the children too.
Hey, you throw some respect on Hayden Christensen's name, all right?
That man polished a turd like nobody else could.
So, why did this happen? It's really for a stupid reason. The king at the time, well, whenever any king comes into power, he demands a letter of fealty to be delivered to him. This was very normal, nothing strange about it. And most of the time, it was very rare for somebody to like not send a letter or refuse to send a letter. So Clan MacDonald does its thing and it sends its letter off. And there's a bit of an issue, and the letter did arrive, but it was a few days late. Which you know what that means.
Oh my god.
Yeah, time to slaughter them. No, yeah, this is one of like the darkest points in Scottish history. I went looking for people from the clans today who are like what they thought about this, if there's still a rivalry. Apparently, it's a mixed bag, with most people thinking like, it was 300 years ago, like nothing to like really be upset about. But there are still some people who are really like deep into that whole clan stuff that are like really upset about this. If this is a bit dark, don't worry. Here's a baby hippo just to warm everybody up, make everybody feel a little bit better. And by the way,
squishy guy.
Yeah, do visit Scotland though. I recommend it 100%. It's beautiful, gorgeous. I can't guarantee you won't be killed, but
just send your mail on time.
So, fun fact. I don't know how true this is because I haven't looked up like my ancestry, but I think I have, from what my mom has told me in the past, ancestry relating to the Douglas clan and whatnot. And not only that, but I'm also going to Edinburgh in literally like a month and a half. So I will be visiting.
Hell yeah.
So hopefully I don't get beheaded.
Just stay out of that cable region. Can you, Crusty?
Yeah.
Before you move on, can you go back a couple of slides to that map of the UK? Or England, I'm not sure what part of that territory counts. So, landmass size, how big, compared to like a United States, like compared to Texas, how big is this part of Britain? Or Scotland?
Scotland is probably about the size of like Maine, maybe. Probably like New Hampshire.
How in the fuck can there be this?
Closer to Maine.
How can there be this many clans in such a small area? Like they'd be bumping into each other all the time.
For scale,
Organized
Ireland is almost the exact
for
size.
1,000 years.
For context, Ireland is almost the exact size of Missouri. The reason I know that is because I accidentally made my fantasy world almost exactly the size of Ireland. I wasn't doing it intentionally.
Wait, is your fantasy world set in Missouri?
No.
Oh.
No, I see that now. No.
I hate when I accidentally open the D&D book and make Missouri. It fucks me up.
So, according to Google, Scotland is slightly smaller than South Carolina.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't too far off.
Nuts.
yeah, I mean, this here is Glasgow, and Edinburgh is over here, and that's like an hour drive.
Oh.
Across from there.
Yeah, okay. So that'd be like from not going to dox myself, to Atlanta.
Quick, everyone, make an hour-long radius away from Atlanta.
Manuel is roasting me in the chat and we went over this in Cullen's How to Be an Adult video. Yes, it's a very American comment that I expect cities to be like several hours away from each other instead of like a brief walk.
All right. Number 2. I think a lot of people are going to like this one. I introduce you the Fourth Crusade.
Oh, no.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, Jerusalem, for the billionth time, has been conquested. So
there's trouble in Lego City.
So the Pope at the time, Pope Innocent III, said, all right, boys, I've got a master plan, foolproof. We sail to Egypt, conquer it, and then we take back the Holy Land. Where could you go wrong? So they call up a crusade, and everybody's like, hell yeah, let's do this. And they order a bunch of ships from Venice. And Venice are like, yeah, 100%, here you go. Here are a bunch of ships. However, when they arrive to do their whole like Radhan Festival thing, there's something wrong. There's not a whole lot of people around. Now, to clarify, there's still tens of thousands of Crusaders who've showed up. But compared to past Crusades, not that many. Disappointing numbers. The reason for this is because no matter if you were successful in the prior Crusades or not, even if you were you got the best out of it, the reward was really not worth all the trouble. So because of that, going on crusade was just not that common anymore. It was kind of a dying art, you could say. So because how crusades work as well, you gotta all think of it as like a like Comic-Con or not Comic-Con, like some sort of group event thing where everybody has to pitch in with their money. That's essentially what a crusade is, and because there's not a lot of people, they couldn't pay for the ships. So the Venetians go, all right, okay. We can work with this. You see that town over there called Zara, which by the way is where the fashion brand comes from.
Even at the time,
would like you. No, but no, but yeah, the Venetians if you just siege the city and take it for us, then we'll cut all the costs of the boats. And the Crusaders are you telling me we get to crusade before going on a crusade? Hell yes. The Pope is like, the fuck you are. That is a Catholic city. I will excommunicate you if you do this. Though I think that threat didn't exactly work because they sacked the city. By this point, the Pope had completely checked out. I think he was kind of pretending that this whole thing wasn't happening. But that didn't stop the Crusaders wanting to still crusade.
I came here to kill people.
Yeah, exactly. I came all the way because you have to remember some of these people came from Northern Europe or Spain and everything. So they've come a long way to get here, put all their money down to do this. But lucky for them, across the sea is the dying corpse of the Byzantine Empire, and they've just deposed a prince known as Alexios IV, and he's like, "Uwu, help me take back my kingdom." And I will fund your entire crusade indefinitely. And not only that, if you help me reclaim a bunch of the land that was taken off of me through wars, I will grant you land rights and nobility positions and stuff like that. And the Crusaders are like, does this mean we get to crusade? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, okay, we'll do it. And so there they sail across the Mediterranean to go back to Constantinople with his army of Crusaders. He gets to the city and he's like, Uwu, let me be king again, please. They are like, absolutely not. There's plenty of reasons why they didn't want him. I'm not going to go through them, but let's just say they didn't like him at all. After a few days of negotiations, it didn't go anywhere. And you know what that means? Crusading time. So even though it was a Christian city, they sacked it. And from the Crusaders' perspective, they were expecting the people to be welcoming. They were expecting there to be a shit ton of gold, and they also thought they would be seen as heroes of Christendom and be seen throughout time in history as legends. Instead, they all got everyone disliked that notification, a vault that had been empty for around a century, and all of Europe being like, what the hell are you doing? Another problem was that the Crusaders were expecting to be paid, and I just mentioned that the vaults were empty, so Alexisio was wondering what the fuck do I pay them with? So he decides to do a very terrible thing and smelts holy relics.
Oh my god.
And
I'm
the
sure
entire
the Pope loved that.
yeah, well, the entirety of Europe was like, what the fuck?
No.
This would only cause like a much deeper divide between Orthodox Christianity and Catholic Christianity, which would also have connotations to future conflicts between the two major religious groups. Another thing as well was that the Constantinople was the heart of what was left of the Byzantine Empire, and after its destruction, it was never able to recover, and this led to a massive power vacuum in Anatolia, which would eventually lead to larger empires such as the Ottoman Empire conquering the region. Which would kind of cause a domino effect of pushing Europeans to go and try and find other ways into to get trade through China, which I think they may have taken a bit too far. But you could make an argument that thanks to the Fourth Crusade, the United States would have probably never been founded. So very loosely, very disconnectedly, but domino-wise, it kind of works out. But yeah, quick rapid fire honorable mentions. We all know Benedict Arnold.
His name is
traitor,
still
A
used
snake,
to this day.
a rat,
That
a
guy.
rat.
cretin.
Oh shit! All right.
Entirety of the Middle East with the British and French basically lying to them after World War One.
Sykes-Picot agreement moment.
That went a very different
Yeah.
direction than I was afraid you were going with that.
These two bozos. I've brought up the siege of Volahai. This is more of a legend than actual history, but as legend goes, when the Mongols attempted to siege the city, they were really struggling until eventually, at one point in the battle, a bird flew out, landed on the Khan's shoulder with a letter on it, and revealing the plans to the castle and where they could sneak in and take the city. So that was a kind of goofy one. The entirety of Christianity and King of Henry VIII. That was, loved that marrying woman thing too much, and just couldn't
Couldn't
stick
stop
with the
himself.
Catholic Church. Yeah.
I thought
The
it was the
wind-
divorcing women that he loved too much.
Right. Well, you can't have one without the other.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. The wind and the English Channel during 1066. We'll never forgive the Channel for that, letting the pesky French come across. And then I thought I might as well put in an honorable loyalty mention because we just had traitors throughout the entire presentation. I thought I'd bring up one very loyal man, Marcus Attilius. And while this is also somewhat legend, it's very split on whether it happened or not. But basically, he was captured. He was a Roman who was captured during the Punic Wars. They said, "All right, we want to send you back to Rome to negotiate a prisoner swap. But if it doesn't work out, you have to promise us you'll come back and be in our captivity again." And he's like, "Okay." So he goes back to Rome. And they're like, "Oh my God, Marcus, you're back. How did you escape?" And he's like, "Oh, I didn't escape. Oh, by the way, can we negotiate this prisoner swap?" And the Romans are like, "No, we don't want to do that." He's like, "Oh, okay, well, bye, I guess. And they're going, in the painting, it's showing people going, where are you going? He's like, I'm going back to Carthage to be imprisoned. And they're like, no, you can't do, you're here. You might as well just stay. Like, they don't have you. He's like, no, I made a promise. And so he went back to be imprisoned by the Carthaginians.
Crusty, are you going to talk about the end of his life? Because my God.
Well, I was going to say that it depends on which source you take. The legendary source suggests that he was tortured to death when he returned.
There's a painting called Regulus about this man. Basically, what happened was for one, there was no reason he had to go back. All right, he was in Rome. They could have protected him. So he goes back, and according to myth and the painting, dude was bound, his eyes were forced open, and he was forced to stare directly into the sun for hours.
Jeez.
That's real nice.
Didn't even get cut slack for keeping his word.
Moral of the story, kids, lie.
Yeah.
It's most likely he probably starved to death, but like I said, the sources are a bit we only have 2, and they're both from 1,000 years ago, so it's not exactly super tight.
There's a painting called Regulus, and to imitate his supposed execution, it is a normal painting of a Carthaginian dock, bay, that he would have been bound and forced to stare over. And then the artist, on the day that it was shown, came to the gallery where it was being shown and started painting layers of white over the painting until it was completely unrecognizable.
Oh, I heard of that one. It was so cool.
Sorry, it's one of my favorite paintings.
Nice.
All right. And for number 1, I was going to point out that nobody would get this, as in, I think somebody would have gotten this, but I was also at the same time if nobody gets this, I'm going to be kind of mad. Someone did mention this, though. I think it was Jesse earlier in the presentation. And this is probably one of the greatest, well, not greatest, but I guess most well-known betrayals of all time. And that is the assassination of Julius Caesar. Now, this one is an important one to me, as 10-year-old me was inspired to learn about history through this event, watching Rome Season 1. And ever since, I've just been in love with history. But why did it happen? What caused this massive, amazing event throughout history? What caused it? What was the big oof? Well, we got to go back a little earlier. Before Rome was the big giant empire that it became, it was a small republic. Well, not very small, but still not as big as it would become. To many people's surprise, Rome was a republic for the majority of its existence, and the Congress that they had was very similar to how your guys' U.S. Congress works, where the very rich and powerful stay in their seats and nobody else gets to join in. The big difference, though, is that they had what they called consorts, and they had 2 of them, which were acting presidents. However, they would only get one term, one term and for 1 year. They could do another term every 10 years, but this wasn't really super common. And they would essentially be a part of opposing factions, just to keep things balanced and making sure no faction has too much power. This is where our boy Julius Caesar comes in. So Julius Caesar isn't really from quote unquote nobility. If he would, he is technically a part of the nobility, but on the bottom of the nobility tier, if that makes sense. Many people in the court look down upon him. However, through his nice wit and his very likable stance on things, he was able to form a powerful boy band called the First Triumvirate, with 2 of the most powerful men in Rome, which allowed him to become consort. Now, another thing that he was able to do during his time was become dictator. Now, be careful, because the Romans' perspective on the term dictator is completely different from our our perspective of what a dictator is.
I did one tiny update. I put Deli Mike's flight tracker information in the chat. If anybody, if 34 people would like to tune in for some reason to Deli Mike's flight tracker.
The FAA is just like, why the hell are all these
watching
people
this?
Okay, I don't want to be rude, but since there's a break in the flow of the subject, I'm not the one interrupting you to start it. It's console. Consort is like a queen's boy thing or a king's girl thing. Console is what the Roman guys were called.
I wasn't going to correct them. I thought it was funny.
Elden Ring. Elden Ring.
That's my Xbox.
I mean, if you think about it, if you call yourself the consort, you're saying, I am the boyfriend of Rome.
Right. Yeah. Julius Caesar was Rome's boyfriend.
I'm married to the game, literally.
They did declare people father of the Republic at points, so I guess that would make them consorts of Rome.
I am the boy toy of my country.
And the OnlyFans video would be one Julius Caesar gets fucked by an entire Senate.
Julius Caesar, all caps, impaled by
the Roman Senate.
Like 80 people, 80 old men.
Whack. Anyways,
where was I? Oh yeah, Rome's thoughts on the concept of dictator. Dictator was a very useful tool in the Roman government, but the idea of what a dictator was not as we see it today. You see, the Romans hated kings. They started off with 7 kings in their early days and decided, nah, screw that, that's cringe. We're going with a republic. But the role dictator was for whenever something was, if it was an emergency situation in the empire, like if, a bunch of weird creatures from the mountains are coming down, invading the country, like you're going to need a dictator. It was also like a really useful tool for the Romans to basically skip past any silly bureaucracy that would take too long to get past. So very useful political tool. And you might be thinking, oh, I'm sure that will never be taken advantage of. But to be fair, throughout Rome's history, they've had at least 76 dictators, and pretty much all of them had been the power had been returned to the Republic after their dictatorship, which was only last around a year or 2 years at most. In fact, Caesar in his lifetime was dictator 3 times. The second time he gave it up in 2 weeks. So there was an expectation for you to give up your power. So another thing, when you were Julius Caesar would become consul, and after you become consul, you would be given a province in Rome to govern for yourself. It's kind of like a retirement package. But if you were really lucky, really lucky, you would get 2 provinces. And if you're Julius Caesar, you get 3 because you're just so goddamn charming. What would then Caesar do in his retirement? Well, he would go in to conquer Gaul and genocide the Gallic people. By the way, I just want to clarify something as well. Rome didn't want him to do this, and in fact made him labeled him as a traitor for doing this. Because Rome saw Gaul as a trade ally, and to them he was a criminal. So they demanded, and as every general would in the Roman Empire, when you've conquered new land, you disband your army where you've conquered, and then you come back to the capital alone. Caesar was kind of like, what if I just take my army back with me? This would go on to start the 3-way war between that boy band I mentioned. If there's a boy band in Rome, or a political boy band, it tends to lead to a civil war almost all the time. I'm not going to go through...
That's why BTS is banned from going to Rome.
Yeah, I want to... This is going to be a thing I bring up, but I'm going to do a specific swag academy on Julius Caesar. because there's so much to go through, but I just can't cover here, like his time in Egypt, or how he cockblocked a 4,000-year-old pharaoh dynasty, or the time he got kidnapped by pirates and then he executed them because he thought the ransom was too low.
He's not exaggerating.
What a guy.
Or when he like messed around with calendars for a bit, and long story short, he won his civil war, and he returned to Rome a hero, and declared himself dictator for life. Now, I actually really like the scene from Rome because he's got his face painted in red, which he would have done because there was kind of a cult of personality around him being some sort of deified representation of Jupiter, which didn't help his ego. But he didn't get rid of the Republic. You have to remember, Romans were really terrified of this word being tyrannus. That would be like our version of dictator, but it translates to tyrant. And so no Roman, no matter how powerful you were or how powerful you wanted to be, you never wanted to be seen as a tyrant. That was a scary thing because tyrants will just always get killed.
It's like the modern equivalent would be fascist, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. The problem was though is he was just so damn popular. Like everybody just loved him and were perfectly happy with him abusing his power slightly every now and then. Well, why was he so popular as well? Like, what made him? What was something special about him? Well, at one event that kind of summarizes it, he was out at a temple with Mark Anthony, with a crowd following him, and Mark Anthony decides to put a crown on his head.
Oh yeah,
and then, and points to the people and says to Caesar, "This is a gift from the people." And the crowd is kind of like in an awkward silence. I can't find any like sort of gift to represent what happened, but let's just say Caesar would not keep that crown on his head and would actually get in an awkward scuffle with Mark Anthony with the whole putting on the crown, taking it off, putting it back on again, until Caesar did what he does best. His ultimate move was his actions and his words, because he would then donate. There's a donation pillar that he would take the crown and put it on, and he turned to the people and he proclaimed, "Jupiter alone of the Romans is king." And the crowd went fucking nuts. And to the Romans, this was like just lyrics so hot that, you know, how could you not like this guy?
It's reverberated through the ages. He's right. God is king.
Yeah.
When the barbarian rolls a nat 1 persuasion and the bard rolls a nat 20 persuasion to not face the consequences.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the Republic did not see it the same way, and basically there was a call to assassinate him. And who would it be better to assassinate him than Brutus himself? Because many people might not realize this. Brutus was a direct descendant of the man who overthrew Rome's last king. So it was kind of like he was born to do this. But what adds to the betrayal as well is during that civil war mentioned prior, Brutus fought against Caesar, and Caesar pardoned him because he liked him so much. So, like, to be betrayed once again was kind of like seen as a disgrace. But unfortunately, on the 15th of March, he was stabbed and killed in the hall rooms of the Republic, and basically, I mean, how does this matter to you specifically? Well, the problem is that he didn't really have an heir. He did have his son, which he never recognized, and I kind of think it's interesting how Caesar could have used his son in Egypt as a massive power move, because Egypt was one of the wealthiest provinces of the empire. But no, he never actually like acknowledged him. He did, however, have a great nephew known as Octavian. Now, Octavian wasn't your average Roman. He was Roman culture, when you were growing up, you were like, everything was about hunting and wrestling and sword fighting. But now he was into his books. He was into art, poetry, politics. And Caesar took a liking to him, even though they had only ever met twice, I think, in their lives. These 2 times meeting would change history forever, because what Caesar was about to write was going to break Roman society. Essentially, his will proclaimed, give everything to Octavian. Except the money, though. Split that equally with every free Roman citizen. Oh, and you see those gardens I own along the Tiber? Give them to the city and let them become public places. This somewhat shattered like norms of what Rome thought about like leaders and stuff, because you have to remember like the class system that Rome had, like peasants were not seen as like on the same level or were to be interacting with the higher ups. So is there somebody okay?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So the idea that a Roman dictator would give his wealth away to the people was like shocking to most. After a very awkward funeral where all the killers were present and had to like say some nice words about Caesar, a few things happened. It's very complicated, but a second boy band started called the Second Triumvirate with Octavian, Mark Antony, and what's the third guy? No one remembers the third guy. The drummer of the band.
It was an L. Labienus, wasn't it? No, that was Caesar's second hand.
It'll be in the next slide, I think. But anyway, they make a boy band, and what did I say about boy bands? They always break up in civil wars. Lepidus, that's it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And your boy Octavian defeats his enemies and becomes not only the most powerful man in Rome, but potentially the most powerful man in the world. He has absolute authority, especially over the armies, and basically calls himself, at the time it wouldn't have been known as emperor, but he made the idea of Caesar as a title and proclaimed his new name as Augustus Caesar.
You could say he seized Caesar.
Yeah. Yeah, but he very much like George Washington when he first became president, and he had the capability of making the presidency whatever he wanted it to be. Octavian had the same thing about being Roman emperor. There's never been a Roman emperor before. What does it entail? What can they do? And the rules and laws that he implemented to what a Roman emperor should be would forever go down and be used throughout the Roman Empire history and for European history and even somewhat Middle Eastern history as well. And the best way I kind of always explained European history, it's just a bunch of countries never really getting over the Roman Empire. Like they just wish that it would never collapse, and so each person's trying to like retake it. But the effects that Octavian would have when he was emperor would somewhat shape the structure of European society for generations to come, and even to this day, we see the remnants of his legacy, essentially. But yeah, finis. Halas.